evening, lovelies. Just got kind of hot. I've been super cold most of the day. Well, not most of the day, just since I got home. I finished DoorDash about, I closed up shop around 3. I was only out there for like 4 hours, but I don't know, that's usually how long, I don't know, I'm out. I guess it just depends. I probably could have stayed out and made more money, but I was tired. I had one of those lack of sleep, tired headaches, and just felt like I was in a fog. And I just thought, I don't know, common sense would dictate not to be behind the wheel when you're feeling like that. And so I got my butt home and put some comfy clothes on and got a nice warm cozy blanket and some nice warm cozy socks and chilled. I have the house to myself tonight, as luck would have it. I mean, not necessarily. I mean, I enjoy having people here, just like I enjoy not having the house to myself. But it was nice. Tonight was the first night. Stormy's like always trying to get me to be comfortable enough to like venture into other parts of the house. She wants me to feel like this house is my house too. She's such a sweetheart. And so tonight was the first night I sat up in the living room in front of the fire in the nice comfy recliner, reading. I had the living room lights off, but I had the dining room lights on, and they're kind of like, the dimmer switch, so I turned them way down and just kind of like sat there all in like the aesthetically dimly lit room reading my book. It was amazing. I was down there for a while, and it was I read a good amount of the book. Super comfy and cozy, and Harley jumped up next to me and was keeping my feet and my hands warm, or this hand anyways, warm. And so it was nice. It was a nice way to spend the evening. And like I said, I got really into the book, so that's cool. And you know how I said that once you start, like, I don't know, practicing these principles, once you start practicing those, or once you start implementing those into your life, you're supposed to be bold enough to request proof from that divine intelligence that that practice is actually working in your life. You're supposed to ask for that. And so I did. And, I got excited for the way it was going to show up. And then, I'm reading this book, and a lot of what he is talking about, these principles that he's talking about, are principles that I've already started putting into effect. And it was like long before I opened this book. And I just feel like Neville Goddard and the whole, the feeling is the secret, and controlling your inner thoughts or your inner conversation, and all of the Neville Goddard stuff, I feel like laid that groundwork for this book and for these practices, these principles. And I feel like that in itself is kind of like proof that these things are working in my life. It's like reinforcement. It's like positive reinforcement, like I said the other night. But I don't know. The book tonight, I was just like feeling it. I was feeling it, and I was like, oh my God, these are things that I've already figured out. He talks about heart-mind coherence, and so I wanted to get kind of like a good definition, that because I'm finding that when I'm doing all this, it helps me a lot to find different definitions or meanings behind verbiage that he uses in the book. And I feel like that really cements and solidifies everything I'm learning. So, so I looked up coherence so that I could have like a really good cohesive image of what he's talking about. And so coherence, and this is what I found, and I feel like it is spot on. It is the quality of forming a unified whole. And that's basically what you're doing. You're taking your thought and the feeling, the elevated emotion, and you're combining them, and that's coherence. And so that coherence, if you think about it, it's like coherence. It's like, I don't know, like perfect unison conversation or something. And so you have this coherence between this, the thought and the elevated emotion, and you have that quantum field. And so, and this is also what I'm figuring out is, so like if you, and I think I've gone over it before, so you know, you come out a situation from, and it really does come down to observing your thoughts completely. Okay, here's an example of you know, observing your thoughts, or a good example where it would be good to observe your thoughts. Okay, so let's say that you're getting ready for work and you're kind of running late and you are feeling stressed because you're running late, but then you remember, you know, oh, well, you know what? At least I don't have to worry about lunch because I have my cheeseburger from last night, and I'm just going to grab that and throw it in a bag and I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about lunch, and it was a delicious cheeseburger. So there's something positive I can take with me for, you know, for the day. I'm going to have a fun, good lunch. And so, you know, you get ready and you finish getting ready and you go to get your lunch together, and you open the refrigerator and your cheeseburger's not there. And you can only deduce that since it's only you and your spouse, your significant other, in the place you reside, that they were the one that had to have eaten. They took your cheeseburger that you're going to take for lunch. Okay, so your cheeseburger's gone. You're freaking out. You're fuming. You're chomping at the bit. You want to just go up one side of your spouse and down the other because they took your cheeseburger. But you can't. You can't yell at your spouse right now because they are not home. And even if they were, you don't have time to go over there and yell at your spouse for eating your cheeseburger because you're already running late for work. So you head out the door. You're driving to work. You're angry. You're fuming. You're just going over and over in your head. How dare they eat my cheeseburger? That was my cheeseburger. I was going to take that for lunch. That's my cheeseburger. So all day long, this is what you're doing. You're beating your spouse up all day long in your thoughts. In the meantime, your spouse has no idea that they have upset you to this degree. And if they knew, they probably would have been like, I'm not going to touch that cheeseburger because she is going to go up one side and down the other because of the cheeseburger. Okay, so you're at work and you're fuming and you're angry, and all you can think about is how they took your cheeseburger. And now what are you going to eat for lunch? And now you have to go out of your way to go out for lunch and spend money that you don't want to have to spend because you had your cheeseburger. All this is going on in your head, and you're just going over and over and over and over and over and over. And your mind doesn't know what's true and what's not true. In your mind, you have already had this conversation with your spouse, and it's already happened. And so because of it, it has, your body's like freaking out. It's like, give us those chemicals, give us those chemicals. We're in stress. We're feeling stress. It's a fight or flight. They took our cheeseburger. We're going to die. And so it's like feeding the body all of these chemicals, these stress-induced chemicals, so that it can, like, it's getting its fix. And so here's what Dr. Joe suggests. He suggests that instead of jumping on the anger bandwagon, you take a step back and you go with, okay, so you've gone within. And this is the place where you objectively observe all of these emotions that you're feeling. And so, first of all, let's find out what triggered it. What triggered it? Well, that person stole my cheeseburger. But did they steal your cheeseburger? Was it stolen? Was it really your cheeseburger? Or was it actually just communal property? And so you have a new way to look at it. And really it comes down to telling that small self to shut the hell up. because we're going to have an objective conversation. So then you think about what you would say to your spouse. If you could, talk to them right now about your missing hamburger. You're thinking about these things you're going to say to your spouse, and in the back of your head, you're really thinking, do I want to really be angry about this? Is it going to prevent me from being kind? Do I want it to prevent me from being kind? How is me reacting the way I normally react? How is that going to make me feel about myself? So he has this great phrase that I think I fell in love with it. And it is, what is a greater expression of myself that I would like to be? And I feel like, I mean, if you are truly being an objective observer, you can step back and say, what is the greater expression of myself that I would like to be in this situation? And really, I don't know, I feel like that gives you pause to step back, and it kind of shuts that small self down. So then as the observer, you can stand back and you can say, I do want to resolve this in as peaceful manner as possible. I don't want to have my peace disrupted by this simple, insignificant thing. So in other words, what he's saying is, if you can step back and objectively observe your inner state, you have become a quantum observer. And he says that if you are consciously observing your old self, then you are no longer being it, and you have begun rewiring those synapses, those nerve cells. And he says that nerve cells that no longer fire together no longer wire together. So, and this is what I've noticed in my life, is that when you authentically say, I want to be aware of these behaviors, I want to take a good, hard, close look at these things that are tripping me up. Show me how I can be aware of that instant when I'm triggered. Show me how I can react differently. And I tell you what, I can attest, when you put something like that out there, you're gonna get it. It's like they say, ask and it shall be given, and it has. So all of this is centered around meditation, and he says that in the Tibetan word for meditation or meditating is to know, to become familiar with. And so basically you're becoming familiar with yourself. And then in Sanskrit, it is to cultivate the self. And I like that one a lot. I like to cultivate the self because I like anything having to do with like growing stuff. You know me in the fertile soil of my subconscious. And so he talks about, like, as you're pruning these old neurological patterns, as you're pruning them, you're getting rid of the old self. And while you're doing that, you're also changing your genes in the exact same way. And so everything you're doing, like on an emotional, like a spiritual or a heart level, you're also doing that to your DNA. You're changing your DNA. So when he talked about pruning, your head, your brain, when you're in there pruning your brain, I mean, I got this great imagery of like going in and like removing all of these like old roots and old branches that no longer serve me. And so I think that in the meantime, while you're in there and you're pruning all of those old neurological patterns, I think you should always, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to always keep in my program, what is the greatest, or what is the greater expression of myself that I would like to be? I think that that is the best intent. So I don't know, that's something. And then also, okay, so you're all in your head and you're rewiring and you're reprogramming and you're becoming the greater expression of who you want to be. And so, and you have all of these, and you're in there and you're pruning, you're weeding out all of those nasty weeds that you at one point didn't think were so nasty. They were like your protectors in a way. They kept you safe. You fell back on them when you felt insecure, or threatened, or fearful, or sad. And it's kind of like the Alanis Morissette song Precious Illusions. These precious illusions in my head did not let me down when I was a kid, but now they're letting you down. And not only are they letting you down, but they also are becoming obstacles which prevent you from becoming that higher expression of yourself. And so they need to go. But it's still kind of hard because we're a nostalgic people. We love our nostalgia. We love to reminisce, even if it's on memories that are not necessarily good for us. We have fond attachments to memories that are kind of dark and really don't serve us. And so, when we're in the process of pruning and weeding and removing all of these and rewiring, then you kind of ask yourself, well, what's going to happen to all of those things? And this is what he says, so lovely. Okay, and this is a quote from the book. He says, "Where are those memories now stored?" And then he says, "They will be given to the soul as wisdom." And I think that's lovely, because I think that's exactly what happens. Because, you have all of these things that no longer serve you, that, I don't know, were a necessary evil so that you could realize the higher expression of who you wanted to be. And without those, you wouldn't have that understanding. And I think that's what wisdom is. I think it is knowledge and understanding, the highest form of understanding, which is compassion, which is love. And I think that's what the soul is wisdom. It's that compassion, love, understanding, and knowledge, all like in one thing, which is, again, coherence. And I don't know, I feel like that is life for me right now, is this great coherence. But I don't know, these are just my thoughts on the book. I think that, if anybody is curious, if anybody's interested, always be curious. Always be curious. Always want to learn. Always question. Question everything. And if you're really interested in changing your life, seriously from within, changing your life, who you are, breaking the habit of being yourself, get this book. It's the most amazing book. And, if you want to couple it with Neville Goddard's The Feeling is a Secret, because that is the loveliest book too, so lovely, then do that and join them together, and you'll find coherence in that. And what I'm finding is that everything when it joins together like perfectly like that is coherence. So anyways, you guys have a coherent night, and I love you, and don't forget to live abundantly.